Hey, 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 Will here from Polyhedral Playgrounds. I am really excited today because LiveMath lives. Now, LiveMath is a piece of mathematical software that I've been using off and on since the late 1980s. And I say off and on, not because my interest has waxed and waned, but because the software hasn't been available. It's gone through a couple of ownerships, a couple of different name changes. Anyway, I don't really want to talk about the history of LiveMath at this point. I want to focus on the fact that it's being revitalized. It is being brought up to date so that it works on modern operating systems, Windows, Macs, Linux, and even I'm told within a browser, although that's not available yet. Now, LiveMath has played a huge role in my ability to play with mathematics, and I am just so excited that it's back, and I want to share it with you. Let's go take a look. All right, so when you first open up a LiveMath notebook, it looks something like this. It's got this area you're going to work in, and then up above here, it has a palette. Now I'm working in Windows. It may be arranged a little bit differently on the Mac, but it's essentially the same thing. Um, LiveMath is an algebraic manipulator. It'll do symbolic algebra. It'll do symbolic calculus. It's also a graphing utility. It does all sorts of things, and it's done without programming. That's one of their their slogans, essentially, or their mottos. Live Math is like it's all the math without the programming. Everything's menu driven or drag and drop. Let me show you a few things here. Let's do some basic algebra manipulation here to start with. So let's just say I've got an equation like 3x plus 9 equals 27. Okay. Basic linear equation. We need to solve for x. Okay. Now, your algebra students, or if you are an algebra student, you got to learn how to do this, and you learn about moving stuff around from one side of the equation to the other. Well, LiveMath can do that. That is, when I select that 9, and I'm pressing down the control key, and then it allows me to pick it up, and I drag it over here and say, move it over to the other side. And it moved it over, and it automatically subtracted. And I'm going to click a button here that I want to turn auto simplify off. And I want to do that again. You can see what happened. It turned it into 3x equals 18. It subtracted 9 from both sides. But I want to see all the steps. So let's do that again. Let's grab the 9, control, click, and move it over to the other side. And we say 27 minus 9. I can then say, all right, simplify that. Now, the simplify I can do by going up to the compute menu and selecting simplify, or I can press Control 2, or I can use the palette and press the simplify button. You can see right below it's telling me that this is the simplify button and some of the things that it can do. So when I say simplify, it'll just do the 27 minus 9 is 18. Now, I could then grab this 3 and do the same thing of dragging it over to the other side, and it would know to divide by 3. Actually, what it does is it multiplies by 1/3. But I want to show you a different way to handle this. I'm going to click on the equal sign, which selects the whole equation. And then there's this button, or in the compute menu, either way, there's apply. And it allows me to do the same thing to both sides of the equation. So what I want to do is click on that, and it sets it up. And now notice both sides are selected, and I can say divided by 3. And so now I have both sides of the equation divided by 3. Again, I'm going to click the equation and again say simplify. And it now simplifies both sides of the equation. The 3x divided by 3 is just x. The 18 divided by 3 is 6, and I have solved the equation, right? Now, that's showing your steps, but LiveMath is doing the calculation part of it here. LiveMath could also do this, that if I just select this x, I could say, let's look under the compute menu, isolate. Oh, it would be this button right here. Okay, so it's there. This button right here, isolate, solves the equation. So I'm going to click on that, and it just did it. it just said, well, you can see that I had auto simplify turned off, so it said 27 minus 9, and then it had to divide by the 3 and simplify from here, and I can see that I get 6. Another way that this can be done, it's kind of crazy, is that if I just select that, grab the X and drag it onto this box over here, it just knows, oh, you wanted me to isolate, and so that's what it does. It did the same thing as isolate. I should point out the difference between the box and the triangle. So lines that start with a box are input. You type something in. The triangles are output. These are statements that LiveMath has returned to you. Now, one of the great things about this is you could say, oh, wait a minute, I typed that in wrong. That wasn't supposed to be a 9, that was supposed to be a 12. And you can see that all of the calculations we did get updated because all of them were based off of that original text or the original equation that we typed in. It automatically updates and resolves the problem with the new numbers in there. This is just fabulous. The algebra that this thing knows is pretty good. I mean, if I want to type something else in here, like I just as an example here, what's happening? I wanted to do x squared plus 5x plus 6 and say, can you factor that? Well, I can select the whole thing. Again, from the compute menu, I could select factor, or I could do control 5, or I could use that button from the menu. I'll just select it here, and it factored it. I'll say, oh, wait, no. I typed that in wrong. It wasn't an x plus 5. It was an x. Sorry, it wasn't a plus 5x. It was a minus 5x. And it's like, oh, you wanted to factor it that way. It's like, oh, no, wait a minute. No. I typed it in wrong again. That wasn't a plus 6. That was a minus 6. And it's like, oh, well, here, let me factor that for you. Right? It's dynamic. It's live. That all of these results are based on the inputs. And if you change the input, then it says, oh, wait, let me change all the outputs. So it can also do symbolic calculus, take derivatives, things like that, do integrals. I'm not going to get into that right now. The thing I want to show you next is just how simple it is to draw graphs. So if I wanted a graph of, let's pick a fun function, like y equals sine of x. There we go. Click the equation, and you can, again, do this either with the menu or with the up above there, the graph menu says I can do a 2D plot. I want to do a curve plot. So I could do that, which is telling me I could either do Control G or I could click on, in fact, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to click on this icon right here, and it's going to draw me a graph. And there I have this beautiful graph of the sine curve. It looks like it's plotting from, about -3 to 3 here. I could zoom out with this, what is that, a rocket ship icon. I can zoom in to different parts of it if I want to see a particular part of the graph. I can zoom in like that. These two icons are increasing the grid density and decreasing the grid density. It doesn't really make a lot of difference on the 2D graphs, but you can see if I get the density too low, it looks more like piecewise linear. So on 3D graphs, when you're doing graphs in 3D, these are rather important, but in the 2D, it doesn't really matter. This icon right here allows us to open up the details for this graph. It didn't look like anything happened because it happened down below. Down below, there's stuff. This is telling me the bounds as I'm going currently from left to right, -2.6 to 6.4. I can change those if I want now. It's like, no, I really wanted to go from -5 up to 10 or whatever, pick your range, pick your top and bottom Y values, right? So you can type those in, or just moving, clicking and dragging will automatically change them, or using the zoom in or zoom out button will automatically change them. So there's different ways to manipulate that. Stretch to fit or true proportions. So in true proportions, 1 unit in the x direction is equal to 1 unit in the y direction. When it's stretched to fit, it's just trying to fit the graph into whatever size rectangle you give it, and I can change the size by grabbing that lower right corner and moving it around and seeing different sizes for that graph. Okay. Let's leave it like that. Down below here, this curve where it says the little squiggly line here, curve at, this is the curve plot that is saying you're plotting at x comma y, where x equals left to right, and y is being calculated by, notice there's a dot right here, it's using that equation to figure out what the y values are. And so it's plotting the x values from whatever left is at moment 9.6 to whatever right is, negative 5.6 to 9.4. I have options here. I could do a normal line. I could do a dotted line. I could do an extra heavy line. I can change the color if I want. Let's go with red. No, some people can't really see red. I don't know. There's all sorts of different things you can do. Other? Wow. All right. I can pick all sorts of colors here for my curve, right? If I wanted to add another graph to it, there's multiple ways I can do it. One fun way, let me close the details here. One fun way is just to get another line here and type in a new equation. Y equals x squared. You might think that the computer is going to get confused because I've got y equals that and y equals this. Which one is it going to use? Well, the black dot is on that one, so that's the one it uses. But when I select that, hold down the control key so I can grab it, click and drag and just drop it onto the graph, it says, shall we let x be my independent variable? And they're calling it y sub 100. It's like just it picked a new y value. Notice there's some dots underneath here. Those dots mean something's hidden. And so what it's done is it said, I've got a new variable that I'm going to say is equal to y, and it grabbed this equation and stuck it in for y right there, and got this new one. In fact, I haven't shown you the drag and drop substitutions yet. That's the way we can add a new equation into an existing graph to get that new thing. And when we open up the details, you can see that now there's two curve plots. One at x comma y, one at x comma y sub 100. I don't know why it picks 100 as the new subscript, but that's what it does. And again, it decided that this was going to be dotted in blue. I could come in and change it to be normal in whatever color you want, magenta. There we go. One last thing is just because I mentioned it, there's drag and drop substitutions. So for instance, if I wanted to say, I've got the function y equals x squared there, but let me let x equal 3. What's the value of y when x is 3? Well, I can select that equation, control click, and drop it in for x right here. And I have a new statement. I want to drag this out of the way here. When x is 3, we got that y was equal to 3 squared. And I notice since I have auto simplify turned off, it didn't simplify that. So let's simplify this now and say that y equals 9. So just by clicking on x equals 3, I can drag it into a formula, drop it, it plugs the 3 in for x, and it tells me that y is 9. Then I said, wait a minute, I didn't want 3, I wanted 4. And it will redo that calculation and say, oh, y has got to be 16, right? It's live. All the calculations are live. And oh, the graphs are live too. Did I notice? Did I not mention that if I were to say, oh, change this equation, I didn't want y equals sine x, I wanted y equals sine of 2x, then it automatically changes the graph. Down here below, it's like, oh, I didn't want x squared, I actually meant 2x squared. Harder to see that the graph changed there, but it did. And any of the calculations that I used, because I had done some calculations with that line, they all get updated as well. It's live. To get started with LiveMath, there's a little bit of a learning curve, but it's not very steep, and it's well worth the effort. Um, most of it's fairly intuitive as to how to manipulate things, and I would highly encourage you to give it a try. I will leave a link to the LiveMath website in the description down below. And while you're down there, you might as well click like and subscribe so I can keep making these videos. Um, and if you have any experience with LiveMath or just want to make comments about what you've seen here, please um, leave some comments. I would love to hear what people have done with this thing in the past. Um, and until the next time, keep having fun doing math.